Going into the next bull market, I think DeFi Derivatives is one of the most promising niches in all of crypto. And the reason why is simple. DeFi has been bringing all types of applications and sectors from traditional finance over to the crypto space. And while they've been successful with some niches, they haven't really done a great job with derivatives yet. That's why I consider it one of the final frontiers for DeFi. And guess what? GMX is currently dominating that niche. So does that mean it's time to buy? Well, not so fast, because we gotta look at all the arguments, both for and against buying GMX before coming up with our final verdict. Sounds good? Let's start with the case for buying GMX. First and foremost, GMX is one of the best products when it comes to decentralized derivatives exchanges. Check this out. Their user interface is so simple and clean. Pretty much anyone can just look at it and know how to use it. Also, they're on the Arbitrum and Avalanche networks, so you can trade on there with minimal gas fees. But what makes GMX special is their innovative GLP liquidity pool. That's a multi-asset pool that serves as the counterparty for all traders. And it benefits both traders and liquidity providers in several ways. In terms of traders, you can enjoy plenty of liquidity and the ability to use 50x leverage, which is harder to do when it comes to decentralized derivatives. And in terms of LPs, you don't have to worry about impermanent loss. You have the flexibility to deposit liquidity in one coin and take out liquidity in another, and you receive their GLP token, which gives you real yield that comes from protocol revenue rather than unsustainable token inflation. So yeah, their GLP is pretty awesome as is. But wait, there's more, because GMX recently released their V2 protocol that has a bunch of new features for traders and liquidity providers. I'm talking lower fees, better swap incentives, you name it. This new version will also integrate Chainlink's low latency oracles, which will make trading even more efficient and secure for their users. So GMX has clearly built a high quality product, and that's a big reason why they've enjoyed consistent growth all throughout the bear market. And that actually brings me to my second reason to be bullish, which is their amazing on-chain metrics. Seriously, if you just look at their metrics and nothing else, you'd think that they've been in a bull market. GMX consistently ranks in the top 10 of fee-generating protocols in crypto. On August 17th, they were able to generate the second highest amount of fees due to market volatility. And in terms of number of users, that's been going parabolic since their V2 launch. They went from around 298,000 users at the end of July to over 380,000 at the time of this video. That's a staggering 83,000 new users in just 3 months. Now, this influx of users has also lifted up their other metrics like trading volume, daily fees, etc. But what really impresses me is their total value locked, which has been growing during the bear market, reaching an all-time high of $710 million on May 6th. Oh, and by the way, GMX has also been dominating that metric for a long time now. They've actually been #1 in it for over a year. But anyways, my next reason to potentially buy is that all the big players like whales and institutional investors love the GMX token. You got a major investment firm called Amber Group scooping up all the GMX they can. And as of early October, they hold over $8.5 million worth of it. Coincidentally, this is just about the same amount held by Arthur Hayes, the famous BitMEX founder, who holds $8.49 million worth. So yeah, it's great to see these big players buy GMX, but what could possibly explain why they like it so much? Well, perhaps it's because GMX kinda acts like a dividend, sharing 30% of the protocol revenue with token holders. So that's quite amazing, and I think if Warren Buffett knew about that, heck, he'd want to buy some too. Now, another reason why whales love GMX is because of its attractive tokenomics. For example, 74% of the GMX supply is locked in staking pools. That means all those tokens are out of circulation and cannot contribute to selling pressure on the open market. The GMX token also has another feature called the floor price fund, which kinda acts like GMX's treasury. But the cool part here is that it can be used to buy back and burn GMX tokens. So the larger that fund becomes, the more GMX can be burned, and that I'm always a fan of. But perhaps what's even more bullish than all that is that GMX has continued to lock in new partnerships during the bear market. So GMX got millions of dollars from both Arbitrum and Avalanche's incentive programs, and they use those funds to bring in more users and liquidity providers to their protocol. They also partner with a digital risk protection agency called Doppel to help protect their community against crypto scam threats. And they partner with DAppOS to improve their platform's user experience by integrating their Web3 operating protocol. Anyways, these are just a few of their recent partnerships, but the point is that they will all help GMX get more users in some way, shape, or form. And more users equals more revenue, which flows directly to token holders, and that's a great reason to buy. Now, after hearing all my pros, I bet you're super bullish on GMX and DeFi derivatives right now. But before we get to my cons, I want to share with you another niche that I'm super bullish on. It's called LSDs, or liquid staking derivatives. And one new and promising project here is called LYDRA, who's also the sponsor of this video. If you don't know, LSDs basically lets you stake a coin and you get a derivative token in return that you can use in DeFi apps and so forth. But anyways, the underlying blockchain of LYDRA is HydraChain, which is a unique proof-of-stake blockchain built for real-world businesses. HydraChain by itself is quite interesting, and I encourage you to go check them out, but that's not what I want to focus on today. I want to focus on LYDRA, which is the protocol-native liquid staking derivative for Hydra, and it stands for Liquid Staking Hydra. It's actually quite similar to Lido Finance, you know, the popular protocol on Ethereum where you send your ETH there and you get back staked ETH in return. But the big difference here is that LYDRA is natively integrated to HydraChain, so it's more secure and has less attack vectors. Also, you can do so much with LYDRA, like leverage staking, lending, advanced yield strategies, you name it. So the important thing to know is that they're going to have a launch event for LYDRA. It's not quite out yet, but it should be soon, like potentially late November. And they'll be unveiling the LYDRA Hydra pool, which will make LYDRA available to buy for the first time. So if you're into the LSD niche and want to learn more, then go check them out using my link below. Anyways, back to my cons, or the case against buying GMX. And my first concern is that their system is potentially built on a shaky foundation. To understand why, I'm going to share this guy, Avron's post, because he explains it best. Quote, the idea of GLP and GMX is simple. Leverage traders are expected to lose more often than win. So when traders close their position at a loss or get liquidated, the winnings are given to the GLP holders that take on the risk of providing liquidity. Essentially, GLP holders acts as the house, and leverage traders are trying to extract value from that pool. Okay, so that's a simple system. But do you see the problem here? First of all, it's great for liquidity providers that traders have been net negative so far. But if a large number of traders become consistently profitable, then it could put a lot of strain on the GLP pool and potentially deplete it. Not to mention, during times of high volatility, some traders could catch those big moves with leveraged positions, and that could potentially drain the pool too. So that's a big concern, because with no pool, there's no GMX, right? But even if that extreme scenario doesn't happen, the second problem is that their system pits traders and liquidity providers against one another. When traders win, LPs lose. And when traders lose, LPs win. So that dynamic creates an incentive for each side to manipulate the system to their advantage. And this isn't just some hypothetical, by the way. In September of 2022, some attacker pulled off a price manipulation exploit on GMX and made off with $500,000 in profits. So that was a true wake-up call for GMX participants, and it definitely made apparent the potential risks of their system. Now, GMX did introduce some changes to protect against those types of attacks, but still, the incentive to manipulate the system remains. So we're gonna have to keep an eye out for future exploits, as that could greatly impact the sustainability of GMX. Now, my next concern has to do with their V2 protocol, which I praised in my pros section, but it also has some drawbacks as well. For example, V2 introduced independent liquidity pools, which unfortunately fragments the liquidity they have on their platform. This means that sometimes traders will be unable to open high leverage positions for certain trading pairs, and that may force them to move to other platforms instead. Another problem is that GMX pretty much lost their zero slippage feature due to the introduction of funding rates and price impact fees. But this is a problem, because zero slippage was a huge selling point that made them so popular in the first place. So while this V2 upgrade does shore up some of their vulnerabilities, it also makes GMX much more similar to its competitors, which I consider a negative. And speaking of competitors, another concern is that there are a lot of competitors gunning for GMX's top spot, like the number 2 derivatives protocol, DYDX, is making major moves by becoming their own app chain on Cosmos. And in terms of derivatives dexes that use liquidity pools, GMX has challengers like Quinta and Level Finance. Quinta was able to briefly surpass GMX in weekly TVL at one point, probably because they got $5.7 million worth of token incentives from synthetics to give out to their traders. It's not only the incentives though, GMX V2 also has comparatively higher fees, which is another reason why traders may choose to go with other platforms instead. So while they are sitting pretty at the #1 spot right now, any one of those competitors could leapfrog them in the next bull run, so it's definitely something to keep an eye on. Oh, and by the way, another way those competitors could beat GMX is by doing better marketing than them, and that's actually my next big concern. So one of the biggest criticisms against GMX is that they don't take marketing seriously enough. Their competitors have been much more active than them, creating trader incentives and other growth initiatives to try to catch up to GMX. Like Quinta put their token incentives to good use, and even DYDX is giving out $100,000 worth of incentives to traders daily. So if GMX wants to keep their top spot, then they're gonna have to prioritize marketing more and come up with ways to incentivize traders to come and stay. That was a lot of food for thought, wasn't it? But I'll be honest, this video was challenging to make because GMX has both a V1 and V2 right now, and they're quite different from one another. So some of my points only apply to V1 or V2, but not both. And I realize that can be confusing, but I decided to include them anyways because those versions are both usable right now, and V1 actually still has most of the liquidity. So yeah, personally, I'm not as excited about GMX after researching it, but I still bought a little bit as I like the risk to reward ratio at its current price. By the way, if you haven't seen our other time to buy videos yet, check out this one for BitTensor Tau, which people say is the top AI crypto project out there. Otherwise, check out HydraChain's liquid staking project called LYDRA by using my links below.